Hey guys, it's because Mama said so, and I wanted to take a second today to talk about something that I think a lot of people struggle with. I don't think it's just me. I don't think I'm the only person that has struggles with doing this. But I want to talk today about cleaning and mental health. A lot of people have written books on this. A lot of people I've seen talk shows about it. I remember one time I saw on Oprah a long time ago a show called on a book, Does This Clutter Make My Butt Look Fat? So for years and years and years, we've been trying to discuss and dissect, cleaning and things like that. But one thing I don't think that we talk about enough is the connection that mental health has with cleaning. For a lot of people, this is not an issue. They can get up and they can do their cleaning and they can have their routines and everything and they have no problem. But there's a lot of people out there that really struggle to be able to keep their house clean and organized. And I use air quotes because I feel like this is a very subjective topic. So first of all, cleaning has a lot of vulnerability. For a lot of people, they tie their self-worth to whether or not they're able to get things done. They tie their self-worth to how their house looks. And this can leave you in a state of feeling vulnerable. If your house is perfectly clean and organized, some people will feel like, I have got it all together. I'm okay with having people over. I'm okay with people seeing this part of me. But for some people, if your house is messy, this almost feels like a gaping wound that you're opening up to people, and you don't want to have people over, and you feel embarrassed about it, and it's difficult because you feel exposed. Like basically your house being messy is just a sign blaring to people that you're not okay, that something's wrong. I've heard this struggle often discussed with people who deal with weight. It's like people who deal with being heavy or overweight, they feel like it's on their body everywhere they go is this vulnerable exposure of, I have something going on and I'm not dealing with it well, or I'm not caring for myself well, and they feel like everybody can see that, and it feels so vulnerable and you feel so exposed. So it's multifaceted cleaning, because cleaning involves a lot of different things. If I keep looking down, I wrote down notes because I tend to ramble and I want to make sure that I'm very clear with what I say to you. So number one, how were you raised? You might have been raised in a house where you were made to feel like, like if you didn't pick up after yourself or your room was messy, you were called lazy, you were called a slob, you were called, a bunch of different words that have somehow kind of internalized in your brain that if you're not cleaning, it's because I'm lazy or I'm this or I'm that. And you might have been raised in a house like that. You might have been raised in a house to, believe that cleanliness is next to godliness. And so therefore anything below that standard might be something that is embarrassing or shameful or literally just not acceptable. Was your house clean growing up? Did you grow up in a house where everything had a place, and when it was out of place, it was obvious because that space was open, so you knew exactly where it went? Were you raised in a house where, it wasn't very clean? I hate to say this, but like, hoarders, people grow up in houses like that and they are raised to believe that that is an incredibly normal way, to live, and they don't see anything wrong with that. And then they get out and they get into their own house and they realize that they're struggling to function and they're not really sure why. But were you raised in a house that was clean versus messy versus complete chaos? And so what does clean mean? Like, does clean mean holding at a perfect state of the laundry's always done, the dishes are always done, everything has just been disinfected? Like, is that the state? Like, once you get done cleaning your house and you light a candle and, no one can touch anything, is that the state of clean? If that's the state of clean, then you're in a constant push and pull and struggle to maintain that. Is clean function? Does clean mean that you have clothes to wear? Does it mean that that you have dishes to eat off? Does it mean that you have a place to sleep? Does it mean having a space to eat dinner? Is it functionality for you? Is it a little bit of clutter, a little bit of crumbs, but overall functional? Like, what level of that, what means clean to you? That is different for absolutely everyone across the spectrum. Everyone's going to have a different idea of what they feel like it means to be clean. And here's another thought. Does that meaning of clean change based on who's coming over? I can right now see all of your heads going, immediately thinking of that one person that if they come over, you are freaking out because it's like, oh my gosh, it's not clean enough. For some people, it's your mom. For some people, it's your mother-in-law. For some people, it's, you know, your husband or a boyfriend or the plumber, you know, or somebody. If you rent, it might be the landlord. You might be kind of like, oh my goodness, if the landlord comes over, I'm going to have to do something first. I even know people that have housekeepers that feel like I have to clean my house before my housekeeper gets here. So there's that. And so there is a lot of perfectionism and shame around cleaning. People who do this well often feel like that sense of accomplishment that they're able to get it done. And honestly, people who are good at cleaning probably don't even know that they're good at cleaning. They don't realize that some people aren't. It's just something that very naturally works well for them. There's people who their personality and their types, they're just good at cleaning. They can get up, they can do those things, they can have those systems in place. These are things that are incredibly easy for them. But there's a whole bunch of people that it's really just not. To those people who are not good at cleaning, they can experience a myriad of emotions. Shame, guilt, humiliation, embarrassment, all tied to whether or not their house is clean. So if some people are good at cleaning and they feel like they don't have an issue with it, and then there's people on the other side that do struggle with cleaning, what are some of the causes of people to struggle with cleaning? Yum. So one of the things that, you know, I think, and again, this discussion is not my attempt to diagnose anything. This is not my attempt to fix anything. I really just want to have a dialogue and a discussion about the whole paradigm of cleaning. And so one of the things that I think that cleaning is tied to a struggle of perfectionism. And perfectionism is something that we can't talk about unless we have a discussion about shame. And I think anybody who struggles with cleaning and has had a messy house and has felt distressed and in despair about it knows exactly what the shame feels like when you don't feel like you measure up. And that's a big thing. Shame is a big part of this emotion that we feel when we feel like we don't measure up, when we feel like we fall short. And again, that's an internalized feeling of we're just not worthy. Like there's something about us that's flawed. Like there's something about us that isn't like everybody else. All of these emotions kind of fall into a category. And I have this book in my lap. It's Brene Brown's Atlas of the Heart, and I really love this book. And in it, she breaks down emotions by chapters. And when she talks about the chapter on where we go when we feel like we don't measure up, there's a category of emotions in that: shame, guilt, self-compassion, perfectionism, humiliation, and embarrassment, that can be all encompassing within those, that feeling of where do we go in our head, where do we go in our heart when we feel like we don't measure up. And one of the things that she said, she has this quote in the book: perfectionism is a self-destructive and addictive belief system that fuels this primary thought: if I look perfect, if I live perfectly, if I work perfectly, and I do everything perfectly, I can avoid or minimize the feelings of shame, judgment, and blame. Now, when you read that, to me, what I hear and what I honestly, personally, as someone who struggles with neatness, who struggles with tidiness, who struggles with cleaning, and also some of the other things we're going to talk about, the thing that I recognize is that feeling that if I can be perfect, then I won't have to deal with the emotions that come from being exposed to imperfection. And they're not issues of imperfection in other people or imperfections in my home. It's that feeling of if I'm perfect, I can stave off any of the anxiety or issues that I feel with myself if everything's perfect. But when things aren't perfect, then all of a sudden I'm dealing with how I feel about me, or my fears of how everyone else feels about me, or my anxiety about what I'm doing or not doing correctly. All of those things fall into that realm of perfectionism. Now, when we were talking about the other emotions, the shame, the guilt, the embarrassment, humiliation, all of those kind of things, those are all in a span of emotion. And so shame is an emotion that says, I am bad. It says, if I failed the test, then it's because I'm stupid. It says, if my house is not clean, it's because I'm lazy, I'm a slob, there's something wrong with me, I'm dirty. Guilt, on the other hand, is an emotion that says, I behaved bad. Guilt focuses on the behavior, and why that's important is behaviors can change. Behaviors are things like skills that you can grow in. All of those things are shifting and fluid and things that you can work on and are kind of external to who you are as a person. But if you are feeling shame, you are internalizing that the entire problem is within the sphere of you. It's internalized. It's because there's something wrong with me. And so many people have this problem of blaming themselves. And I think at the core root of it is this feeling of perfectionism, that if we can't do it perfectly, then we can't do it at all. And so we may even feel motivated to clean, but then we get like frozen in a state of, I don't have time to do everything, so I can't do anything. And that's a very real headspace that some people get in. And perfectionism is when you turn unrealistic goals and expectations inward, and then determine that when we can't meet those expectations or goals that we set for ourselves that were unrealistic, that somehow it's because we're flawed, failures, or unworthy. And a lot of these, guilt is a positive emotion. Guilt is an emotion that we have a healthy feeling toward, oh, I did something that was kind of in conflict with my core values, and as a result, I need to change my behavior that I am doing. Shame says that if I can't accomplish this thing, like constantly keeping my house at this level, at this state of perfection, if I can't do that, then somehow it is because there is something wrong inside of me. There is something where I am not clean, I am not organized, I am dirty, I am a slob. All of these very negative and intense emotions come in that we take in on ourselves. Perfectionism turns things inward to self as the problem, and guilt sees it as external, as behaviors that can be changed and correct. Why perfectionism and cleaning come toe-to-toe is because cleaning is an everyday confrontation. Again, I go back to people who deal with like weight issues. You hear all the time that, if you're, an alcoholic, you may not run into alcohol every day. If you are, any number of things, you may not run into it every day. But if you are someone who deals with issues with cleaning and shame, this is every day. Every day that you get up, you are confronted with some level of whether or not you feel like you're accomplishing the task. And again, this deals with what your pathology is, like how you were raised, what kind of things that you have going on. We can feel confronted daily with ghosts and demons that feel somehow more than dirty clothes and mildew in our bathroom. Like, something about those things are not just themselves. They are something that feels like it's communicating something back to us. And it hurts and it's hard. So what are some barriers that some people might feel or might experience that cause them to have struggles with cleaning, to have struggles with those kind of tasks? And anxiety can be one. People who get anxious, sometimes it's like you are so overwhelmed with anxiety that you just shut down. You don't know how to function. Sometimes a lot of people with anxiety, the anxiety makes them feel tired and they just want to sleep. Some people will mistakenly think that they're depressed because they're sleeping a lot, when in reality, they're so anxious that their body is exhausted and their mind is exhausted. And it's hard to clean in that state. Depression, if you are sad, if you are broken, if you are going through something, if something is hurting your heart, it's hard to care whether or not there are dirty socks on the floor. And we're more than dirty socks. You know, we're people, we're human beings. ADHD can be something. If your mind is constantly fixating on different things, you may be so focused on the one thing that your ADHD can see that you don't even see the other stuff going around. It's not even something that's hitting any bells or whistles that you need to pay attention to it. Sorry, my eye itches. Chronic illness. So I have fibromyalgia, and fibromyalgia is, it's this thing that makes me chronically feel tired, exhausted. I have, pain, and it can go through periods of dormancy, and it can go through periods of flare-up. And I never know when that's going to happen. And I've gotten more attuned to the triggers, but sometimes I don't know. And so I will find myself, in 2-week periods where I just can barely function. Like, it's all I can do to just go out, do the things that I need to do, the bare minimum baseline, and then anything above that I literally can't do. And sometimes cleaning falls into that. Neurodivergence or executive function problems. People don't realize this, but if you are someone that has no problem going into and, doing the systems of cleaning and organizing and checking your boxes and stuff like that, you may not realize that for some people, these steps that are involved in cleaning are exhausting. So some of the steps, if you think about it, if you decide to clean, you have to plan. When are you going to clean? What are you going to clean? Do you know how to clean the things that you need to clean? Do you know how to do that? Were you taught how to do that, or do you have to go find the information? Do you need to purchase anything? Do you have the products that you need to do the cleaning? What products do you need for cleaning? Then you have to execute actually doing the cleaning, and that might involve time management. Like, when are you going to carve that time out? How much time will you need? How much time does this task take? All of those things. And if you're a person with a clear head, no neurodivergence, you don't have trouble with anxiety, depression, executive dysfunction, or anything, these things may seem incredibly simple to you. And you may feel like you see people that struggle with this and you think to yourself, why don't they just ... Why don't they just wash the dishes? Why don't they just make their bed? Why don't they just... And the thing is that what you're not recognizing maybe is that you don't understand there are blocks in the system of some people's thought patterns that make it difficult to get there, to get to the actual point that you are actually doing the task. Can be such a struggle for some people, especially when you're trying to go through barriers of mental health or physical health. And so if you're not a person that has those problems, this may not be an issue for you. You may not be watching this video, so I don't know why I'm talking to you, because the title probably did not appeal to you. But if you are one of my friends who deals with any of the things that I've just mentioned, you probably 110% understand exactly what I'm saying. and are grateful that you tuned into this video, because you are not by yourself. There are so many people that experience these issues. And so I have a couple of tools, a couple of resources that I thought I would bring. Oh, there's the other one. For you just to talk about, because as you know, on my channel, I do FlyLady cleaning, FlyLady organization. And that is based on this book, Sink Reflections. And for a person that is dealing with feeling overwhelmed, not knowing where to begin, not knowing what systems to put in place, and stuff like that, the FlyLady is a really good tool. I love the FlyLady because Fly, F-L-Y, stands for finally loving yourself. The whole point is that there's systems and that there's things that you can do, but that you do them as a kindness to yourself. You have your weekly home blessing week and things like that, which we'll talk about this in a second. But there's this book, and I really love it. But I also understand that before you can even get to this, before you can get to what are my systems that I can put in place, what are the plans that I can make, sometimes we have to first get past ourselves and past the things that are going on inside. So in order to do that, I want to talk about this book first. This is called How to Keep House While Drowning, and it is by Casey Davis. And she is a licensed professional counselor. She also has a TikTok called Domestic Blisters, which was so good. It was like, it really shook my snow globe as to understanding myself and others in the mental health capacity of cleaning. She also has a TED Talk, which I will put a link for below, but it will look like this. I'm going to put a picture of it up here on the video. But in her book, she talks about 6 pillars of what she calls struggle care. Struggle care, when you are struggling to care for yourself. And when she doesn't have a term for like cleaning and stuff like that, she puts it all underneath the dome of something called care tasks. That washing dishes, doing laundry, making the bed, grocery shopping, making food, making dinner, all of these things are care tasks. And they fall under that umbrella of things that you do to care for yourself and your family. And so in it, she has 6 pillars of struggle care, like the 6 things that her philosophy is as far as taking care of yourself. Number 1 is that care tasks are morally neutral. Now, this was mind-blowing to me because we have so much morality attached to cleaning. And by morality, I say that is your goodness or your badness based on your ability to clean. So if you are a person that is able to keep your house clean and everything, and organized and, decorated and all that kind of stuff, that person may feel like a good person to you. That person may feel like they are a good person because they can do that. But a person who maybe struggles to keep their house clean or organized, or may even just be dealing with straight out just, hoarders level clutter and chaos, may feel like that is a sign that I am a bad person, that I am bad because I cannot do that. But what Casey challenged us to, and I think it's so important, is to realize that care tasks are morally neutral. They're neither good nor bad. They are either accomplished or unaccomplished, but that's it. There's nothing that is actually tied to your personal value as a person, whether or not you get them done. Number 2, you deserve kindness regardless of functioning. And I think this is so important that people just need to understand. And I want you to hear me. Lean close to me. Because you are a human, because you are alive, because you are a soul and an entity on this planet, you are worthy of love. You are worthy of kindness. You are worthy of empathy and understanding and compassion and all of these things. You are worthy of them And you should give them to yourself too, regardless of your level of functioning. And I think a lot of people don't really grasp that, how important it is that we don't tie our worth to achievement and things like that, because ultimately things are going to go wrong. Things aren't going to be perfect all the time. And when those imperfect things happen and we have our value tied to them, it can really hurt us. It can hurt our hearts. And so you are worthy and you deserve kindness regardless of your level of functioning. If you cannot get out of bed and you have a pile of plates on your nightstand, you are worthy of love. You are worthy of compassion. If your house is spotless and has not a thing out of place, you are worthy of love and you are worthy of compassion. And none of it has to do with whether or not there are plates or cleanliness. Rest is a right. You do not have to earn the ability to rest. Rest is a human right and a need that we have for our physical bodies. Good enough is perfect. Playing with that perfectionism. Shame is the enemy of function. And I absolutely love that whole thought, because it goes back to that shame as being a root of being a perfectionist. And shame wars against functioning, against healthy, good functioning. So from here, let's talk about FlyLady. So FlyLady, once you have kind of, and I say, if you are depressed and you are in a space where you are struggling mentally, this is where you want to start. You want to start with this book. You want to read through this. It's 31 Days of Compassionate Help. Check out her TED Talk. Check out her TikTok. Check out this book. And I'll put a link to this because I think you can still get it on Amazon. And I think she revised it. But read through this, because another one of her pillars is you can't save the rainforest if you're depressed. Meaning you can't worry about all the other things if your brain is on fire. If you aren't okay with you, then none of this other stuff matters. You have to get to where you have healed your relationship with you. And so there's that one. And then FlyLady, once you get to a place where you start to feel like maybe you're getting a little bit of understanding, you're kind of taking that guard down off of care tasks and things like that, and you're kind of ready to, in a healthy way, as a kindness to yourself, get into a routine for cleaning and things like that. You hear Scarlett back there yawning. This is Sync Reflections, and in it she has your weekly plan, your daily plan, your weekly home blessing, and schedules and things that you can set up. Because here's the thing, a lot of people were not taught how to clean. A lot of people were not taught the systems. A lot of people don't have built-in infrastructures to save themselves when their house is messy. It's like for a lot of people, you might have gotten, married and moved out of your house, and then all of a sudden you're kind of looking around and you're like, my baseboards are dusty. I don't remember the baseboards in my house being dusty growing up, but I never saw anyone dust them. And we don't realize that there were things that were being done in the background that maybe we didn't see, that we need to be taking care of as adults, in order to keep our house clean. These are just things. This is where Sync Reflections is going to come in to help you manage your house and to give you systems to put in place. And she kind of addresses the whole concept of shame in her book, because she asks the question, are you living in chaos? And chaos means can't have anyone over syndrome. And that goes back to that question that I asked, does cleanliness change, like your definition of it, depending on who's coming over, depending on who's coming to your house? So do you feel like you can't have anyone over because of the shame and embarrassment that you feel about your house? And so she does deal with that. Go lay down. You're sick. She stayed at home today because she's sick. So she is laying down. But that is where I would recommend this book. And there's so many good things in it. But again, if you are someone that is at the very beginning of your journey of trying to heal your mental health, this may feel a little overwhelming, and this may become another straitjacket that you put yourself in when you can't, or feel like you can't accomplish all of these things. I have to be very careful with this, because I can let like the weekly and the monthly and all of those tasks turn into something that if I didn't accomplish it, it's all over, it's all done, throw the baby out with the bathwater. I have to be very careful about that, because I do tend to have a lot of internalization and connection to achievement and stuff like that I struggle with in purpose to like cleaning and all that kind of stuff. And that's the reason why I'm making this video, because I am just like you. I am Sally, can't get it together. You know, I get it. I understand. That's why I'm making this video, to let you know the resources and tools that I have used personally to help me, that I'm still currently working in. And here's the thing. My house is not perfect yet. I still struggle a lot, but it's a lot better than it used to be. And if I were me, 10 years ago looking at my house today, I would think that I had it all together. I would be so proud of me. And that's the thing that I have to keep reminding myself, that change and growth is not linear. It's not going to be, a constant. There are going to be periods of this, but I am continuing to see an upward trend in my ability to function and my ability to do things. And these are some of the things that helped me. And so I'm hoping that they're going to help you. So here's a couple of Mama's closing thoughts. Number one, if you get nothing else from this video, I really pray that you get that you are worthy of love and compassion and understanding and mercy. And it is okay to give those things to yourself. Meaning that when you don't do it perfectly, when you don't do it at all, when you are struggling to function, if you have not gotten out of bed in 2 weeks, yes, is that something that you need to deal with, and we need to find out what's going on and how to help? 100%, because that's not an okay life for you to be, depressed and anxious and bedbound over it. But does it change at all whether or not you're worthy of love and empathy and compassion and mercy for yourself? Absolutely not. And if you're watching this video and you haven't gotten out of bed in 2 weeks, I love you. I love you, and I'm praying that the resources find you, and I'm praying that you get what you need in order to feel better. But you are worthy right there where you are. Number two, having a clean house is not a monument to you having it all together. Cleaning house is not a trophy that sits in your life that is a monument to having it all together. Cleaning your house is a kindness that you do to yourself, because you deserve a level of function. You deserve to have a space that works for you. When you get up in the morning, if you like to have a coffee, you deserve to have a coffee pot that's ready to use, and you deserve to have a mug that's clean to drink out of it. When you go to bed at night, you change your sheets, not because you're dirty if you don't, but you change your sheets because you deserve a nice, comfortable space to rest in. You wash your dishes, not because you're gross or disgusting if you don't. You wash your dishes because you deserve a plate and a fork to be able to eat a nutritious meal on. You don't cook and meal plan because you have it all together. You do it as a kindness to yourself to allow you to have the space to function. And you are allowed to have the things that you need. And so this is probably one in a series of videos that I will do on cleaning and mental health. I know that I put a lot in here. I will put links down below to all the books, all the things that I discussed. But I want you to hear that you are not by yourself. You are not alone. You're not the only person that struggles with cleaning. You're not the only person that struggles with mental health and balance and trying to pull it all together. I certainly do. I certainly struggle with it between, my fibromyalgia, and I struggle really bad with social anxiety. And so if you are that person, you are not by yourself. You are not alone. There are other people out there that deal with the same issue. And I just want you to know that you're loved. And I pray that you're able to love yourself enough to find the resources, to reach out for help, to order the books, to read them, to take baby steps, to seek help. And just know that you can get through this, and you are going to be okay. Remember, take care of yourself, your precious cargo. Why? Because Mama said so.